Welcome back to the rest of the story. Well, this is exactly what I think everybody has been waiting for, and that is the harvest to start back up again. Now, we weren't able to start soybeans early in the morning. Granted, we got going here combining corn. It was about 9:30 by the time I got the truck out of here. So, we figured since we can't combine soybeans for at least a couple hours yet, we went ahead. We already had the corn head and everything hooked up, so might as well try to be as efficient as you can. We ended up running out only about 2 strips, and it took us most of the morning to do that. Everything is yielding okay, I guess. Really wasn't in here long enough to see how everything was yielding later on. There is a definite difference between the NK seed we planted and a little bit of DeKalb seed that was planted. Um, like 40 to 50 bushels difference. Our anhydrous, that is definitely a big difference between going just with urea as opposed to putting the anhydrous on in the fall. We have a couple test areas that didn't have anhydrous, and let's just say that I am very disappointed. In the areas that do not have anhydrous, it was a great day when we finally started putting anhydrous down. We had always considered doing it before we met Andrew or before Andrew came around, and now that he's around, I don't see us ever really wanting to give it up. So, well, as you can see, the stock quality is there, but there really isn't much for leaves anymore. Late season disease did a pretty good number on the crop health, the plant health. I'm really starting to wonder. I was talking to my friend that how much it's really going to take to get corn fodder made this fall, or how much excuse me. It's early in the morning. I'm having a hard time catching my voice. We're wondering how much, as far as corn fodder, it's going to take to actually amount to any decent amount of corn fodder. We are, we do have to make about 200 bales of corn fodder yet. We haven't made any. If you could see off, I think earlier on here, you could see where the corn fodder had been cut. That was before all that rain. You can see to the right of the screen there. And all that rain just pummeled it and basically made it to the point where it's really nothing there worthwhile to round bale. The fresher stuff, I don't like making corn fodder right behind the combine because these plants still are fresh to the point where they're still a little bit wet yet. Excuse me. And the problem is I've done that 3 years ago, and it's the equivalent of making like silage hay or silage fodder. What happened is we went through and we made about 50 bales like the next morning after we combined, and all the fodder from that all those bales that we made from that fodder, they ended up getting hot. They heated and they did mold a little bit on the outside. So I would much rather let the stuff go for a couple days, let it dry out. Hitting it with the cutter either right behind the combine doesn't bother me, or even waiting a couple days and then hitting it with the cutter doesn't bother me. I'm really just talking about the time you brown bale it from the time you combine it. And here we go. This is what separates the men from the boys. Is unloading on the go. Everybody used to give us so much grief because we use with the grain carts and with this bigger Easy Trail wagon. That's what the camera is currently mounted to. This is easy. Growing up, I did not have my 7600. Growing up back before we even had the 7400 with that power quad, I grew up hauling with a 2955, and anybody knows how those work. That's just your traditional 1, 2, 3, 4 gears, and then your 1 or your 2 range levers, and then your 1, 2, 3, 4 again with the TA. A great tractor to learn on, don't get me wrong. That was a very nice little chore tractor for like doing hay work, baling, stuff like that. Really doesn't have a place on our farm anymore. It's too small. I would much rather get a bigger machine that I can do more with. The 29, in its later years, it was being replaced by the 7400 because the 74 could round bale quicker, didn't run out of power, it could plant, and I think I got my point across there. But back to what we're doing here. When I say this separates the men from the boys, because when I was using that 2955 with a 250 bushel wagon, unloading on the go from a 6620, the amount of error you can have when running alongside the combine here is significantly smaller than what I have right now with this grain cart, and significantly smaller yet from what it is when you're using the grain carts. Uh, Ryan and I, when we got up to using the grain carts and these bigger wagons, this is literally like a walk in the park. Um, this is not difficult whatsoever. Really just set our speed. That's another thing that makes this easier yet. The digital tack on the dash. I know how fast I'm running. I'm running about 2.5 miles an hour. It's really easy to set your speed as opposed to like growing up with the 29. Kind of guesstimating fifth gear TA, fourth gear TA, or what y'all need to do, and see just being able to take off like that. Really fluid, no jerking, bouncing, shifting. Well, there is shifting, but there's no clutching. So, um, oh, yeah, it's really in the morning. If you can't tell, this is actually I'm talking to you guys the next morning after this video. So, we are trying to get this corn, some of this corn moved out so we can switch to beans. You guys will have a bean video probably tomorrow. See how that all works out. Well, I can tell you, yes, we did combine beans yesterday, so as long as I can get it uploaded, you guys should see a soybean video. Using that 76 for hauling in, I really like it. Yeah, I could haul more. My video a while back about putting a trailer on it with air brakes that we could pull it. Yeah, we could probably stop it, but then you got to remember, videos are really deceiving. We do have some significant hills. I do lug the tractor with a full load of grain on even this wagon. As far as putting a smaller horsepower tractor, I mean, this is 140 horse to keep in mind, guys, and pulling around what were people telling me 16 tons. Yeah, maybe you could get it stopped, but I need to be able to pull it up certain hills too. So I mean, when it comes to looking at different implements and equipment that we have to hook up to or have to pull around the farms, we have to also take into consideration our terrain. We are not on flat ground. Rockville here, this is our main farm. This is the levelest farm out of all of our ground. It's probably the easiest running, the simplest. The hills are gently rolling, but there really isn't much for actual flat spots on this whole farm. Anybody that's wondering what I'm doing here, Ryan actually had some corn on the cart, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the corn, or I'm going to get the corn out of the grain cart also, because we're trying to keep Dad moving as much as possible. Another question that I was being asked that I will address is people were wondering why I didn't just park the tractor or the wagon at the grain bin and have Ryan just bring the tractor and cart in and unload. Well, the reason for that, and I don't believe I have a video or shot of it here in this video anymore, but there isn't a lot of room, hardly any room, enough room, the way we have the auger currently set up, that Ryan can just pull in and unload the grain cart into the wagon. He did do it twice. One time when I was kind of running slow there, and I didn't realize he had more in the cart than when I left him. And when we were done, and both times when he came in, he actually had to back up between the corn crib and the grain wagon, and it is a very tight fit. And having to do that every single load, if I gotta sit there and watch him anyway, I mean, where's the efficiency when really I can unload that wagon really quick? And I'd much rather have Ryan out with Dad, because Dad can't harvest enough to get ahead of me, typically, that cart gets full. And I can pretty well empty that cart if I get a full load. I mean, it's going to be heaped up to take back to the buildings out of that grain cart. So, I mean, it's all about efficiency when you look at it, and I'd much rather have the grain cart running around with Dad That gives me a little bit more work room too if something happens back at the bins that I have to address. I mean, we did break a shear pin on the grain auger. That takes time, and checking the bin and everything else. I mean, it gives me a little bit more breathing room too, as opposed to me having to run and rush. And haste makes waste. People get hurt. Accidents happen. So, if you're able to kind of coast, jog, so to speak, accidents are less likely to happen. It's a little bit safer for everybody. And there he goes. Then he's going to pull up out of the way. And if you look to the right, and Dad was waiting for me to get out of the way, or Ryan to get out of the way. Now I'm going to put it in gear, and I'm going to start grabbing gears and head back to the buildings. It was a beautiful day out. Weather-wise, it's freaking cold. It is clear and cold out. It is currently 20 degrees outside right now, to the point we almost have to go out and turn on all of our cattle waters and make sure they're not freezing up at night. And that's all I had for this video, guys. I appreciate you watching. I'm putting up with my my throat here, my voice. I've had a sore throat for the last 3 weeks now. So, all right. Look forward to tomorrow night's video. Until then, take care. Take it easy. Keep in touch. I will talk to you guys then.